Now that's an A minor 7 flat 5. See what I mean? You don't really need to have you have to memorize the formulas, but that's easier than memorizing 48,000 chords. And the other thing he was showing me is how to get these sevens. I may not be very good at this because I can't see it. But you take the 4 adjacent strings, the 4 closest strings, and you make an A7 chord. Now you know how to make that, so you make an A7 chord. Then you move it up to where the next A7 would be, which is going to be on the 5th fret, and it's here. Right? That's an A7. That's an A7. That's an A7. So there are 4. There are going to be 4 inversions because there's only 4 notes, right? So now you know there's only 4 inversions. Now you go to the next set, and they're going to be different, you know. So you do that for all 6 strings, doing 4 adjacent strings at a time. Okay, so let's say you've learned them all. There'll be 16 of them. Toss them around and shit. It's really kind of fun. Those are all A7. Now the thing is, once you know this A7 or this one, doesn't matter which one. If you want to make A6, we'll make an A6. Then you have to know that this note right here is the flat 7. That's a dominant 7 note. Flat that one more time, you have an A6. Now, you have 16 A6s because you know that up here you got to find that same thing. There's a flat 7. That's an A6. See what I mean? So if you know those rules, and he pounded them into me, you know, it's like every week he pounded them into me. But once I learned those rules, now when I go do a session, man, I'm not say some friggin' foreign language chord, you know. G major 7 sharp 9 flat 13. Right. Tell me the 3 top notes and give me the low note. Now I'm there. But with Ted, with him teaching me how to spell them and what it took to form them, what it takes to make. And of course on guitar you have to leave some of them out because on 11 chord you can't get 9 notes. You only got 6 strings. So then there are rules on what notes you can leave out that won't harm the chord. And there are you can leave the root out on some of them. It depends on the progression. Like that Autumn Leaves thing. He had it written out so that I played only on the top 4 strings, which I don't remember what that was, but it was all. See, there's no root there on that chord. There is on this one. It's a C minor 7. There, that's a F9, but I'm not playing the F. I'm not playing that. But it's still, because of the key of the song, because of the flow of the chord and stuff, you hear the F9 without having to hear the F note. It's a funny thing, that. And it's the same with that's B flat, major 7. And then you have this, that's an E flat, major 7. If you don't hear that note, that can sound like a minor chord. So it's kind of weird. And the other thing he taught me was that the triads, you know, you can have, he called them polychords, but you can have one shape define a bunch of different chords. I mean, the 2 that come to mind with A minor. If you take this root and make it an F, it's an F major 7. See what I mean? So I know I didn't mean to give you a guitar lesson, but I mean, that just fascinated me. That was one of the things that fascinated me about chords on guitar in particular, because I think it's more complicated on piano, you know, because they can hit 10 notes, and we can't really do that. So what do we have to do? We have to find the voicings that work, and that's where you get creative, is with you know what's the difference between this voice, this one, and this one? Same chord. different texture, maybe, than this one. I don't know. This is that's a C major 9, or C minor 9. This is a C major. So it depends on what you want. Then there are all this leading tone shit. That's where it got complicated for me, and that's where I started stepping back. Okay, well, let's go back to the chord spelling. I want to make sure I got that down. And he would do things like, if you listen to the top note and listen to what the chords are doing, it's awesome to me. The chords are going down in half steps, and the melody goes up a note. It's like an optical illusion or something. Isn't that weird? Yeah. I mean, he had a lot of shit like that. He taught me. Well, like the other thing was this interval. It's one of those really special intervals that can be used a lot of different ways. So he would say, if you take this interval and just drop it in half steps, like that, and you put a root note on the bottom, and you move that root note in fifths. You drop it a fifth and keep this chromatic going. So it goes. That's still going in half steps. That's a big jazz thing. That's like one of the major things in jazz. That then it becomes chord substitution too as well. Like if you're writing an arrangement of something, like here, it's a cool little blues thing. You can do. See, I used a lot of this stuff in playing blues. So like he would say that's only half as. See? Half step up, down. That's all staying the same. See how these things are only moving in half steps. That's all they're doing. It's that kind of shit. I would sit there and he was like the guru of all time. When he would pull out shit like that to me, I would, wow, I didn't know that shit. You're kidding. You're kidding.
I'm thinking that right now.
Oh man, it's amazing shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing shit. I've used it a lot. When I was doing blues gigs, and I was trying to learn all these A7s. What he'd do is he'd have you go up, and then go down in a fourth. So you have to learn the position, see, right? So if I was doing a blues gig and I was having to play rhythm or something, I would just go. I would try them. I go, okay, I'm trying to see it. I would stay on the top 4 strings. Just force myself, Then I might change position. So I go up here. I got to where I could really use them. Instead of just being a music theory thing, I tried to use them. And some of the 7s are a little buggery to use. Like this one's kind of the 7's in the bass. It's a little gnarly. You wouldn't use use it that much. But this one, the interesting thing about this one, it's a bit of a spread. But if you take these three fingers right here and you drop them down a half a step, you have a diminished chord. That's a diminished chord. It's the same with this. It's just the money I spent on lessons for him is invaluable. I've used that shit so much. It's ridiculous. I've forgotten a lot of shit that I'm sorry I've forgotten, because there was so much shit he taught me that was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And all the scale stuff. Scale, he hated to make anything sound like that was so boring to him. You know, so he always tried to make it more and more musical. And you know, doing things like just following the parts of the scale, like he. That's just all scale steps. In fact, it's only 3 of them. So a lot of Baroque stuff was written around that, which he was a genius at. He could improvise Baroque shit. You should just kill me, man. Ted, what are you doing? But, you know, things like... That's just scale steps. G, A minor, G, A minor. That's all it is. G, A minor, G, A minor. It's like, what? That's all it is? Yeah. That's it. I'm not even getting complicated yet, you know. That's the beauty of that kind of thinking. You know, he was awesome.
Got all that?
All A minor.
I heard it all.
It's great. It's great. And doing, you know, so you do when you're, that's when I've worked on sessions and stuff, that's come in so handy, it's unbelievable. Because one of the first things they say to you, can you do another voicing? That's almost the first thing I hear out of most of, and thank God, I can say, sure, not a problem. Whereas before, when I didn't know anything about music theory, now when I'm talking about music theory, he didn't dwell on it. You know, he said, learn music theory just as a tool, and then don't use it to make music. Use it to help you make music. So, a lot of the stuff he taught me, it ended up being ingrained in me because it worked, not because I had to memorize it. You know what I mean? It worked. I could use it and make music. In most other music theory classes I've had, I've never found any use for it. It's just a mental game of some stuff. You know, that's like, I don't care about that. I don't care if you can tell me every little nuance of every little, I don't give a shit about that. How do you make music out of it? That's what I want to know. But all that stuff with the triads, that's really been helpful. That A minor, F major 7 thing. That's another way of doing it. You know, it's all these. All of a sudden, they just became part of under my fingers. You know. So it's just been one of the. His experience with him was a wonderful thing. Okay, that'll be $25 each. Thank you very much.
That's not enough.
Worth every penny.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
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 H.